of jobs across our country, and it eliminated 8,700 jobs here in the state of Oregon. Without the fast track, we might have had a chance of stopping NAFTA. Unfortunately, no trade deal, no matter how bad, has ever been defeated under fast track procedures. And it will be the same if fast track goes through for this one as well. And as soon as corporate-backed negotiators have the fast track ticket in their hands, they know they're free to send jobs overseas, reduce the collective bargaining power of workers, jeopardize important environmental and health and safety regulations, and give global corporations even more influence over our economy than they already have and deserve. Now, as a state legislator and a union member, I know the value of democracy, and I believe in the power of people and what they can do. I know together that we can overcome things with great odds, achieve big victories, and make the world a better place for working people and their families. But we can't do this unless we have transparency and a meaningful opportunity to partake in the process. We can't make trade deals fair for workers when a fast-track process exists. Free trade isn't free, and it won't be free to Oregon. Like Bob and Elizabeth pointed out earlier, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, it will cost Oregon something. It will cost Oregon manufacturing jobs. Now, I ran for office to make this state a better place. Fast track is not going to help me to do that. And I don't personally have the power to stop fast track on my own, unfortunately. But joining together with all of you, we can pressure those who can. Together, everyone here can be a strong voice for what Oregon workers and Oregon families really need. It's time to take action. It's time to call for an end to fast track, and it's time to make sure that our voices are heard.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for coming out this evening. This is such an important issue. So we all know we're here today because we know the free trade agreements. Okay, there we go. Thank you. We're here tonight because we know that free trade agreements further allow corporations to negotiate these trade deals in their best interests and not in ours. Not for our labor and not for our environmental standards. Some of you may be wondering, what's the Sierra Club doing here? Well, we've been working for over 2 decades to work for better, responsible trade practices. So, there's a number of issues that we are concerned about. Congress, first off, if fast track is passed, Congress cannot amend the TPP at all. The TPP is a docking agreement, meaning that these 12 initial countries is just the starting point. We don't know how large this trade agreement could get over time. The TPP removes the safeguards that we have in place right now around the export of a lot of our energy supply. The U.S. Department of Energy is tasked with assessing each export to make sure that it's in our public interest. The TPP would require the U.S. Department of Energy to automatically rubber stamp yes all new energy exports. We need some oversight on that. Am I right? Yeah! We need the TPP to have a strong and binding environmental chapter. Over the last couple decades, the U.S. has worked to create a number of environmental, legally binding environmental pacts with other nations, and these are actually going to be taken away to an extent. The TPP only mentions 3 of the 7 multilateral agreements that we have, and it only enforces 1 of them. So we're actually going backwards on our environmental regulations. That's not okay. The environmental chapter must include a ban on illegally harvested timber. We can't have, I mean, that should just be a given. We can't have timber being harvested. This is precious wood from very biologically diverse areas that need to be protected. The environmental chapter needs to ban illegally traded wildlife. I'm talking about all the wonderful animals. You think of a rhinoceros, you think of a tiger. These need to be protected. They can't be traded illegally. We need to protect our sustainable fisheries. We all love our salmon up here. We all love our oysters, yeah? We need to keep these in at sustainable levels. We can't have our other countries that we're in trade pacts with completely overfishing and demolishing the fisheries that we have. We all love our salmon, let's be real.
Yeah, really.
So I'm here to say that we need to stand up, we need to make noise, we need to call Senator Wyden and tell him that he needs to vote no on this. Fast track is not an acceptable way to work on trade deals.
So-called Trans-Pacific Partnership. Not surprisingly, for a deal that's been drafted mostly by corporate and Wall Street lobbyists, the TPP provides exactly this kind of mix. More international protection when it comes to their intellectual property and other assets. Trade rules that secure and extend their patents, trademarks, and copyrights. Less protection of consumers, workers, small investors, and the environment. What's been leaked about the secret deal so far is that the pharmaceutical company gets stronger protection for their patents, which increases their profits, but might make it harder for people in developing nations to get desperately needed, cheap, affordable, generic versions of drugs. The TPP also gives global companies an international tribunal outside any nation's legal system who can order compensation for any, quote, unjust appropriation of foreign assets. Which means that if there's a regulation that reduces their profits, they can go to this tribunal and say, hey, stop this bad regulation. So this means that foreign subsidiaries of US corporations could challenge any government regulation they claim unfairly diminishes their profits. Say a regulation protecting American consumers from unsafe products or unhealthy foods. Protecting investors from fraudulent securities or predatory lending. Protecting workers from unsafe working conditions. Protecting taxpayers from another bailout of Wall Street. Protecting the environment from toxic emissions. Now, Robert Reich used to be a free trader. But then he had a spell as labor secretary under Bill Clinton, and he came to understand just how thoroughly the game is rigged. And now he's speaking out and saying, we don't need to rig the game any further in favor of multinational corporations, against workers, against consumers, against environmental protection. So, we know that this is not an easy sell in Congress. We need to make it a harder sell. We need to stand up and say no to fast track, no to the UTP, no, 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 no!
No fast track! No fast track!
No fast track!
Fast track's another word for exploiting workers here and in other countries. That's all it is. It's a real honor for me to be with my union brothers and sisters to fight this fast track. And we need to fight back. We need to do more of these because they're not going to give us, they're not going to stop until we make them stop. Are we going to make them stop? Yeah! I had the honor a couple of years ago go down to Mexico. To those countries. So what did you think those countries did? Those government did? They bought those crops from the US and from Canada. And what happened to the Mexican farm worker or the Central American farm worker? Went under. Where are they at now? They're here as undocumented workers, putting food on our table. And so when I say no fast track, because it's nothing but another disguise to exploit workers here and in other countries. That's what it is. Nothing but a way to exploit workers. In Spanish, we say para exprimir más el sangre del trabajador, to squeeze more profit out of the working class people throughout the world. That's what fast track is. That's what free trade is. And we gotta stop it. We don't need fast track. We need jobs. We don't need fast track. We need immigration reform. We don't need fast track. We need better wages. That's what we need. We need better labor protections. We gotta fight the exploitation of the working class people. Wherever workers are being exploited, we gotta unite and fight back. ¡Sí se puede!